All right. This is for the episode The Changeling. My voice is fucking ratchet because I'm so sick. Like I got a head cold.
You smoking that weed?
Well, that too. But I said The Changeling, and the way I said The Changeling, it reminded me of the password is.
The password is.
Remember Password? The game show Password?
Mm-mm.
What? Allie, there's two people on each team, right? And they get a password, and you can't say that word, but you have to get the other person to say that word. You don't know Password? That's crazy. Like I get a word, and the word is Spock, right? And I have to get you to say Spock without saying Spock. So I might say Vulcan, and then you'd have to guess based on my clue what the word is. Anyway, when the round starts and I look at my word, the voiceover guy goes, the password is Spock. So that the people at home can hear it, right? But the people on stage can't.
Yeah, the host looks familiar. 1984. No, that was Super Password. So I don't know who.
Alan Ludden was the original host.
Okay.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Hey, everybody, welcome to...
This happened.
Okay, let's go.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk. Spock.
Your move, Captain. Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on? I'm James Kirk. These people are my friends and my shipmates. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that? James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas. Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
Joe Untrue, everyone. Welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And Allie, we have hailing frequencies open, and we're receiving a hail. Why don't we go see what that is?
Subspace message from Starfleet. Switching to speaker.
So we got a note for us from one of our patrons, Sarah. And
thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for listening. This was in response to our end of season episode where we were kind of listing all the things, like all of our top whatever. And one of the things that we mentioned was their OSHA violations.
Yes.
Because they were serving coffee on the bridge.
All kinds of dumb shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drinking on the job in sick bay. Yeah.
Right. So Sarah reminded me that OSHA wasn't actually created until 1971.
Oh, no shit.
Well, okay.
Oh, man.
So I thought, good point.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah, good point. Okay, so we need to, here's what we need to do. We need to look up and see when that went into effect, and then start watching from there what the episodes, whether they change or not.
No, I bet you they
whether
did.
that coincides with
1971, so yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Too funny.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Funny.
That was cool. That's cool.
Well, why don't we get into our episode this week? Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 3, The Changeling.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Pursuit. Yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
The Enterprise has received a distress call from the Malurians, but have since stopped receiving communication from them, and they're also unable to get the Federation science team there on the phone. Spock's on the long-range scanners, and he's got bad news. Where there should be some 4 billion people, now the system is totally lifeless.
Yikes. Sensor should have picked up any disease organisms that are out there also, but it didn't.
Yeah, he's like ruling out the various possibilities, war, radiation, disease.
Right. And they just got a report from the system a week ago. So, and then he says something, which I'm assuming is a bad thing. He's like, even a Cymbeline blood burn doesn't act that fast. And I'm thinking, Jesus, what kind of like
made up shit is that? But yeah, what does that do to you?
That sounds horrible.
Sulu reports that the shields just snapped on.
I'm
I
like,
thought somebody had to turn the shields on.
Right. I was like, does it just do that?
No.
Because like, at least at this point, the ship didn't like protect itself or,
No.
you know.
No, and we're
So,
always
yeah.
getting commands, shields up, red alert, whatever, right? Like,
Right.
anyway. There's something coming in hot, an extremely powerful bolt of energy. I will say this is another great example of the remastering that they did on these old episodes, because this energy bolt thing looks really good, but not
The
too
green thing?
good. Yeah, but not the glowing light.
Yeah.
But not so good that it takes you out of the 60s style. Like, I think
Right.
they really got the look of it while
Yeah.
updating the technology.
Yeah. If it looked better than that, I would be like, no, that doesn't
This
fit.
doesn't
So,
fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
The blast hits and everybody does the jerk to theme. Back from the theme, the bridge crew is surveying the damage. Spock reports that an energy blast was the equivalent of 90 photon torpedoes. So
That's pretty bad.
this is real bad. The shields are holding, but they'll only be able to withstand 3 more attacks at that power level. So the 4th one would shatter the shields completely. It is unclear to me whether the shields are some kind of like force field energy thing or something physical, but for them to shatter.
Yeah. Shatter the shield. If it's an energy like bubble,
Yeah.
that's what I always think of. I don't know that they ever make that clear up to this point.
And
I
like
don't know.
at what point? Because I may be misremembering this completely, but I feel like with Enterprise, it was like polarize the hull plating was what they always had did. They didn't have like shields.
Right.
And then in Next Generation, you would actually see like the physical shield light up or whatever when something touched it. So I'm unclear of what they have on the ship. Uhura sends off a report to Starfleet Command as another ball of light appears on the screen. Kirk has a quick conversation with Spock and Scotty. Apparently, this energy bolt is traveling at warp 15, so we can't outrun them. So Scotty has diverted engine power to the shields, and they agree that that's the right move.
Spock detects this small object at like 90,000 kilometers away, so they fire their little torpedo at this thing, but then they find that it's been completely absorbed instead of like exploding. So finally, the shields are gone completely on the last blast, and so Kirk orders Lieutenant Uhura to hail the object to see if they can talk to it.
You know, we come in peace and all that bullshit. Spock has calculations now on the target. 500 kilograms, cylindrical, barely over 1 meter. Hey, they're finally using metric. Hot damn.
Were they not using it before?
No.
Were they using feet or inches?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Scotty makes the classic mistake of assuming all intelligent life must be like us. But Spock reminds us that intelligence does not necessarily require size. We get some good tech work here, too, as they attempt to communicate with each other. The signal the Enterprise is receiving is coming in really fast and sounds like an old tape being sped up.
Uhura is saying it's like an old style binary code.
It's always an old style code, Allie. Every single time
know,
we get
it
a
is.
thing, it's an old style code.
But this time it's really fast. But it's compressed and it's extremely sophisticated, I guess, or something like that.
Eventually, the message slows down to a single message, repeat. So Kirk repeats his hail again, and in reply, they receive a new method, a mathematical formula, and requesting language equivalence. So they send over a link to Google Translate, and the alien seems to start pulling large amounts of information at crazy speeds. It's one of Spock's consoles starts sparking and blowing up.
One of them. Okay, gotcha. I thought it was hers, but yeah.
It should have been, shouldn't it? Because she's the comms person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Apparently they got enough language information before the computer burned out because there's a new hail coming in. It identifies itself as Nomad on a non-hostile mission and wants to know if the crew can leave their ship. And Kirk's like, I would, but I'm so big and you're so small. It would be way too tight.
Oh my.
Instead, Kirk offers to beam Nomad aboard the Enterprise, and only Scotty is the voice of reason because he's like, laddie, are you crazy?
Yeah.
We kind of
he's the
go
only
around
one-
beaming every weird thing we find aboard.
Haven't we learned our lesson yet?
No.
But the thing that is so weird, after everything that they say back to Nomad, we hear this computer voice. Everything, its response is non sequitur. Your facts are uncoordinated. Basically,
Right.
Does not compute. But yeah, they're gonna beam it aboard again after like the 10th time that they beamed something aboard and didn't put the proper security on it.
Yeah. Kirk's like, we don't have much choice, do we? Yeah, you do. You could keep talking to it through the comms. That's an option. You didn't need to be face to face with the thing. So Kirk, Spock, Scotty, and McCoy head to the transporter room to receive their guest. And in beams this floating probe-looking thing that looks like Bender from Futurama, but without legs.
Hey, sexy mama. Want to kill all humans?
Well, it totally does look like Bender. And I don't even watch Futurama, but it doesn't have legs. It's floating too, yeah.
Yeah. Back from the break, Bender has some sort of screen that's blocking Spock's ability to scan it. Bender wants to know where the Enterprise came from, but United Federation of Planets isn't enough detail. He wants the address.
And of course, Kirk, again, he's like, I don't see any harm in giving him our star charts. Yeah, because then you'll lead him right to Earth, but whatever.
He was like, as long as you know, we just give him the solar system, like zoom it in on just our place and give it no other context to where else it might be in the universe. Then we'll be okay, right? Yeah, right.
Never find it. Yeah.
Apparently, Kirk still assumes there's a tiny alien inside because he asks Bender if he wants to leave his ship and they'll provide the appropriate atmosphere. But Bender's like,
bite my shiny metal ass.
He says, I contain no parasitical beings, which is an interesting reflection on humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Bender's a robot and more. Kirk thinks this may have something to do with a probe called Nomad, launched in the early 2000s. When asked what its power source is, Bender says that it's changed since the point of origin, and it took a lot from the other. It was at this point, and I don't know if you got this, I thought, hang on, is this the V'ger story from Star Trek The Motion Picture? V'ger. We send a probe far out into space. We think it's lost or destroyed or whatever. No, it was V'ger. V'ger was Voyager. It was the Voyager satellite that we had sent out into space that we actually did, right? But it traveled so far and encountered so many other different things that it became this giant, powerful creature thing, and that was V'ger. So I wonder if this
they got
was
that from.
Yeah,
this.
did they call back to this for that? Yeah,
I think they probably did a lot of it, calling back.
Oh, I'm sure. Bender still wants to scan their star charts, and when Kirk offers to bring them, we learn Bender can move around the ship on his own.
He's like, I got this. I'm fine.
I can float. And so they all go down to auxiliary control, and they have the most rudimentary PowerPoint presentation showing the Sol system.
It's like a bunch of circles surrounding each other with some dots, and that's it.
Yeah, it's like a black and white image. Kirk tells Bender the Sol system is their point of origin, and now he's got it figured out. You're from the third planet? It has one natural satellite. It's called Earth? Yeah. Kirk, you're the creator. Shit, bro. Sorry I tried to kill you guys. That was unnecessary.
Sorry.
Whoops.
My bad. I guess that was sort of an apology. He's like, the sterilization of the Enterprise was unnecessary. So it's like, my bad.
Oops. McCoy asks what its function is, and Bender is like, this is one of your units, creator? What a total piece of shit.
I love that. He's like, this unit functions irrationally. Yes. And McCoy's eyes popped up, and Kirk's like, yeah, sometimes.
I'm surprised McCoy didn't give us you remind me of a Vulcan.
No, I know. He didn't have time to be racist because he was they had to be cautious.
Funny story. Becca and I just started a Next Gen rewatch out of the ending of Picard. Not to put a time on the episode. And as you know, in that first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, McCoy is, walking down the hallway with Data, and Data's being Data. And he's like, you don't have no points on your ears, boy. You-
He brought that racism right back
Yeah.
in, but maybe they did that on purpose. I don't
well,
know.
Gene was still around at that time.
Right.
So I think there was some influence there.
Yeah.
So we learn that Bender's function is to probe for biological infestations and destroy that which is not perfect. Most recently, the population of 4 planets in the Malurian system. McCoy's starting to get all angry with the probe, and Kirk has to shush him.
Yeah. Because they're like, okay, this guy's dangerous. We don't
Yeah.
want to make him mad. We need to tread carefully.
Here we
Well-
go again with a super powerful alien and somebody that doesn't know when to shut up.
Right. And he's on your ship now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirk asks Bender, why do you keep calling me the creator? And Bender's like, is the usage incorrect? And Spock leaps out of his seat where he's been studying the history of Nomad and says that nope, the usage is correct. The creator was just testing you.
Mm-hmm.
And you passed. Yeah. And Bender says, yeah, there was some damage in the accident.
So they leave this poor guy, Mr. Singh, leave him in this auxiliary control room or whatever this place is, and just babysit him for a moment. We need to. Spock needs to tell him something.
Yeah.
Tell Kirk something like right now.
I thought it was a fun moment because it was so much like, hey, Singh, babysit this thing, will ya? Spock and I got to go huddle. Like,
And it's super dangerous, but they've left him.
yeah. Spock has determined that this is indeed the Nomad probe of the 2000s, and while it was thought to have been destroyed, Spock thinks that it somehow repaired itself, but Nomad's mission was peaceful. So something funky's going on, and it was at this point that I thought, wait a minute, when they first made contact with Nomad said that he was a non-violent whatever,
Mhm.
right?
And-
I'm on a
right.
non-violent mission or whatever.
Mhm.
And yet he's destroying all of these, violently destroying all of
Or
these,
trying.
that which are not perfect.
Right, and tried to destroy the
So
Enterprise.
how is that a
so-
non-violent mission? Anyway, back in auxiliary control, Bender is chilling while Singh kind of walks up to it to get a closer look. And suddenly a light comes on at the top of the probe and then just goes off just as unexpectedly.
I
And
think it's probably scanning Sing. I mean, I
Mhm.
didn't really know what that was for.
I
but-
didn't either. But Singh's like, sorry, did I startle you? Can I get you anything? Like hot coffee, cookie? No answer, but Uhura calls down to check in, and Singh puts her on hold so that he can look something up. And Uhura starts humming.
She starts singing that one song, Beyond Antares. I think
Mhm.
she sang it on another episode. It's something that had to do with Spock.
Yeah, was that the same episode that old Danny Boy was down in the
Yes. Wait,
engineering singing?
no, it was.
That was a different one.
I
Man.
think this one was Beyond Antares, was the Charlie X episode. I
Oh,
think.
yes, I think you're right. No, you're right.
She's got a beautiful voice, and so
When she
she's
starts
coming-
singing, Bender's antenna pops up.
I know, right? It just his little antenna gets a little boner. He somehow just tunes into her singing and like sneaks out floats out.
Yeah.
Is it really sneaking? Sneak float?
No, it's not sneaking because, again, here's Singh with his, back to him working on the console or whatever. And,
Just like
and he
leaves.
goes to leave. And this is what happens in the room.
Yep.
Wouldn't he have heard the door swoosh again? This is the second time I've pointed out a time where someone snuck through the door, which is really loud when it opens.
Yep.
In the briefing room, KSM are reading some history books. Spock presents Bender's real creator, Jackson Roy Kirk, which is easily mistaken for Captain James Kirk.
James
Sure.
Kirk.
When you have some bad, burned out memory circuits, I guess, then it's easy to mistake that. Roy Kirk was like a real Doc Brown meets Soong kind of cat, like crazy, wild-eyed scientist, but also brilliant. And his dream was to build a perfect thinking machine capable of independent logic, kind of like an android. And Nomad was the prototype, the first of its kind interstellar probe sent to seek out new life forms.
In 2002,
Mm-hmm.
it was sent out. So that was like 21 years ago, technically. So 21 years ago from us.
From us, right.
But yeah. Yep.
We
But
still have some
somehow-
unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Who is the other? And how did Bender's programming get altered to destroy life? And if its new directive is to destroy any life it deems imperfect, we're in big trouble.
So he's just gliding all around the ship. I guess he knows enough to take the turbo lift down to the bridge. And next thing you know, he's honing his little antenna and he gets on the bridge, floats by Sulu. Sulu's like, whoa.
Yeah, almost knocked him over.
Right. And now he's in front of Uhura. And Scotty is the only one who's like, on the down low, he dials up Captain Kirk. He's like, that mechanical beastie is up here.
I love that beastie that he throws out there.
You got to do the accent.
That mechanical beastie is up here. No, I can't do it.
But so he lands in front of Uhura and he's like, what is this? What are you doing? What is this?
Yeah.
And
Bender's like, why are you making that god-awful noise?
she's like, what are you talking about? Me singing? So she tries to explain it, that it's music, and the singing. He's like, what is music?
This was great. He couldn't take a verbal explanation of it.
Right.
It had to scan Uhura's brain and tells her to think about music. And he'll just like suck the information out of her brain, I guess.
But he ends up wiping her fucking memory completely in the process.
Yeah.
And Scotty, just as Spock and Kirk come in, Scotty's like seeing that he's doing something to Uhura, so he tries to save her, and he gets blasted clear over the fucking rail.
Yes. McCoy rushes to Scotty, but it's too late. He's dead, Jim.
He's dead.
Oh my God! They've killed
Mr. Scott.
you, bastards!
And I was like, and in my head, I'm like, wait a minute, he can't be dead.
Can't kill Scotty, right?
Yeah, he can't be. Scotty can't be dead. That's Scotty.
Bender says he killed Scotty because that unit touched its screens. And Uhura, Bender says that unit is defective. Its thinking is chaotic. Absorbing it unsettled me. And Spock's like, that unit is a woman, and we kind of had a are we, aren't we thing going on. Please don't mention that to Miss Chapel.
Yeah, right.
And some good old 60s sexism, Bender says, a mass of conflicting impulses.
Yeah, I kind of took offense to that. It's like, that is what they thought of women.
Yeah.
Back then, that we are so different, that our brains are so different from men.
Right.
And then that is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And that we need to be fixed. I didn't like that at all.
Bender asks if Kirk will repair the Scott unit, and when Kirk explains that his biological functions have ceased, Bender offers to repair the unit. But first, he'll need to see some tapes because he doesn't have a clue how to undead a human.
But they're like, you can fix it? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, go for it. And Spock loads up some floppies with some medical information, and he sets the display up as fast as it'll go, but he warns Bender, don't try to take in the information faster than the computer can give it to you. Because you blow out my fucking computer again. Yeah.
So Nomad sticks out his little antenna again. So then they head to sick bay. Nomad is hovering over Scotty, and Nurse Chapel is there. And they're all looking at the monitor screens above Scotty's head, and they're all just dead. They're not going anywhere. And I think Nurse Chapel says something, and of course, McCoy is just being a dick.
Chapel says, no reaction, doctor. And McCoy says, I could have told you that without looking.
Yeah, that's uncalled for. But then a few seconds later, the machines above his head come alive, and his heart's beating, and he's alive, and he wakes up. And he's like, what are you all standing over here, standing over me for? And then he remembers Uhura and then saying, like, I've got to get to save Uhura. He's just so honorable and noble. I just like him so much.
Bender says the unit will now function correctly, assuming the information they provided was correct. And
I hope they put everything back the way it was.
And good old country Dr. McCoy pipes in saying, I'd like to check it out for myself if you don't mind. A man is not just a biological unit that you can patch together.
Apparently it is.
And just as he's boasting, Spock knocks him down a couple pegs. Scotty asks what Bender did to him. And Spock's like, oh, McCoy will explain that, doctor. And he shoots this slight smirk at McCoy like, I got you again, bitch. Because McCoy can't explain it.
Right. I mean, how would you feel if you wake up, you didn't know what happened, and someone told you died?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were going to like not hit him with that right this second.
So McCoy orders full exams, and Kirk calls Bender into another patient room where Uhura is laying with the blankest expression on her face. And Kirk orders Bender to repair this unit, but he says it's not possible. He was able to restore Scotty because that was apparently a simple structural repair. Uhura is fucked.
But he took her memories. He could just give them back to her.
Right?
But which
You would
makes
think.
yeah. But poor Uhura, she's like, can't read now. He took all her memories.
Can we talk about how unfucking believable this whole thing is?
Mm-hmm.
Because Spock says if Uhura's brain isn't damaged, if there's not physical damage, then they could re-educate her. I just, how unbelievable. You're starting with a infant's brain.
Yeah.
And you intend to reteach it. You're reteaching like potty training and shit, like all of this stuff in the course of the rest of this episode.
Well, what I don't understand is if Nomad's directive is to want perfection,
right?
How is a woman with absolutely nothing in her head perfection?
Right.
It didn't track on with what Nomad was claiming. His directive was to fix imperfections.
Right.
And
wouldn't he have just destroyed her?
Well, yeah, because a unit, as he says, with nothing to offer, how is that perfection?
Right.
So anyway, I think that was a reason to do that.
We'll come back to this again at the end because it annoys me for the rest of the episode. But like, just the idea that you could take someone whose brain has been wiped and retrain them and have them come out the same person, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no way she would ever be the same person. Like just growing up in Kenya would have like deeply impactful changes to her, like
cultural,
make her personality what it is.
And it's interesting. So as she's learning, so Nurse Chapel, I love their relationship. She's so sweet they're so sweet to each other.
Do you think they talk about Spock?
I don't,
does Uhura like,
probably.
Spock flirts with me too?
They could be, they could be. But I just think that their relationship is just so sweet and they're caring towards each other. And it's so cool to see that as women.
Yes, women supporting each other. And yeah. Yep, agreed. So it's 27 years of knowledge and life experience that they would have had to put back into her. McCoy starts to go on one of his anti-machine screeds, but Spock cuts him off and asks, does the creator wish Bender to wait somewhere else? Because as he points out later, Bender is unpredictable when reacting to strong emotions like that. So Spock's trying to prevent another blow up. And Kirk has Bender go off with the red shirts who are going to take him to a waiting area, a.k.a. the top security brig cell. Spock says that Bender almost qualifies as a life form. And McCoy's like, that's a laugh. Spock wants to study this thing, of course, but Kirk reminds us all that Bender is a cold killer, and he sends Spock down to scan it and figure out what makes it tick. Time passes, and Kirk arrives at the brig where Spock is annoyed that Bender won't drop its screens to be scanned. Like, pull your pants down and let me scan you. He even calls it, like, human stubbornness. So Kirk orders Bender to allow Spock to scan him, and Bender asks if Spock is one of the creator's units. Kirk says yes, and Bender's like, oh, I like this one. He's totally different. His mind is well-ordered and logical. Yeah. And the look on Spock's face when he says this.
I love it.
Nimoy really coming through with the face acting on the character this season. Good stuff. Bender drops his screens and allows Spock to begin scanning. Cut to Uhura and Chapel reading fucking Dick and Jane books.
Yeah. I hated that they made her not dumb, but they made her with no knowledge in her head at all.
Yeah.
I just love how so kind they are to each other and they have like a genuine care for each other. And it's really cool to see that relationship on the screen as women, supporting each other. And I just love that. So yeah, Nurse Chapel is helping her read Sea Dog Run, that kind of thing. And it's like, I hated it. Seeing her that way.
If this is a B story, this is the worst B story of ever.
Yeah. So I guess they've decided they're going to re-educate her.
Yeah.
Like you said.
And I don't buy it. It's not believable.
Mm-mm.
And also, this moment, Uhura slips into Swahili.
Mm-hmm.
So did she learn Swahili first? And quicker than anyone has ever learned a language ever?
Well, she's from Kenya.
But her brain has been wiped. She wouldn't have any memory of that, right?
That's true. But for some reason, that's what's left is like her native tongue.
Yeah.
That's interesting that Nomad left that.
Right.
Wiped her brain.
Right.
But yeah, so when she gets frustrated from see Dick run or see dog run.
Jane's dick. That's a joke for my people.
See Jane's dick.
Mm-hmm.
But so she reverts to Swahili, which is weird.
Yeah,
because, you're right.
I loved hearing it. I loved hearing it as like a callback to her heritage, but it didn't make sense in the context of the story.
No, and so how is she going to learn not only first grade reading all the way up to all the mathematics that you have to know, plus learn how to go through Starfleet again,
right? Yes,
and be a communications officer, and
in the next 20 minutes,
and then be the same Uhura that we know,
right? Yeah, no, they could have written that differently.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason we had to stay in fucking school for 12 years and do college and all this other stuff. Yeah. Not believing it.
Back in the brig, Spock's unable to get any more information about the accident and the other from the damaged areas of Bender's memory banks. And so he suggests a Vulcan mind meld, despite how it shook Uhura's brain clean like a Etch-a-Sketch. I wouldn't let this thing into my fucking head.
And me either.
No way.
But, I mean, but like, hey, he's like communed with a Horta, and some other stuff too that wasn't human. Or so, if anybody can do it, he can do it.
Kirk orders Bender to let Spock touch him. It's a form of communication. So Spock puts one hand on what must be the head and another on what must be the body, or something, and starts speaking. First as Bender in the singular.
Nomad. I am performing my function. Deep emptiness. It approaches. Collision. Damage. Blackness. I am the other.
And then about halfway through, Spock changes the way his hands are arranged. I don't know if you caught that. Very subtle, and turns around and kind of touches him in a way that communicates even more that they're sort of together now. And he starts this, we this and we that.
We are Nomad. We are Nomad.
Finally, Kirk has to command Bender to break the connection. And Spock slumps over into his arms and he takes him out in the hallway where Spock slowly comes out of it. He's impressed by the amount of knowledge he was able to access, including Bender's backstory. It was damaged by a meteor, wandered without purpose until it met the other, which was a very powerful alien probe, and they merged. Borg, anyone?
And the probe was called Tanru? Is that?
Yeah.
Tanru. Yeah, very Borg-like. And they melded into this new Nomad, which took their technology and their missions into one.
Yeah. The other was programmed to secure and sterilize soil samples from other planets. So seek out new life, secure and sterilize became one thing.
Oops. But it was somehow got its wires crossed. They used its quest for perfection as a measuring stick. And of course, the humans don't measure up. So, hey, let's go on a killing spree. And so that killing spree is what took them to Malorian star system and basically wiped them all out.
Kirk suggests a changeling and explains to Spock that a changeling was a fairy child that was left in place of a human baby. The changeling assumed the identity of a human child. Have you ever heard of this before?
No.
No.
I did not know. I literally thought he was pulling that out of his ass because I was like, what?
Right? No, I'd never heard that before. And also, like, the idea of a changeling as a being that changes appearance into another being. What the hell does that have to do? They didn't, I mean, the two objects, the two entities became one. There wasn't like, I don't know.
It didn't match with what we know as quote unquote changelings. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. And then that's like the only reference to the word changeling in the entire episode.
Yes.
So just that one little second.
Yeah. Kirk does have a fun line here, though. He says, it's powerful, it's sophisticated, but it's not infallible. It's space happy. I think it thinks I'm its mother, which, of course, Spock notes is the only thing keeping them alive thus far.
So let him think that.
Yeah, let him keep thinking you're the mama.
Not the mama, 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 not the mama.
You do that one more time and I'm going to throw you across the room.
Not the mama! Whee!
That's awesome.
Kirk and Spock leave, and Bender floats right through the force field and out of the cell. First of all, did they really expect that force field to stop him? Again, like, did we forget about the great balls of energy in the opening of this episode of Star Trek, the original series?
They're so careless.
Killing planets and shit, and you think the brig is gonna, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Red shirts fire their phasers, but it doesn't do any damage, and Bender zaps them right back, and they disappear.
They're fucking into oblivion. They're gone.
Oh my God! They've killed
Security units.
you bastards!
The doors to engineering swoosh open, and in floats Bender, and Scotty freaks out, like ordering everyone to watch their stations closely. Bender floats over to a panel, and he's like, is this antique matter-antimatter thing your main propulsion? What a piece of shit. Let me
fix it.
let me tighten up a few bolts here and maybe a shot of WD-40 there, maybe some duct tape. And suddenly the engines are rapidly increasing all the way up to warp 11, which is far beyond the limit these ships are supposed to be able to fly.
Right.
And Kirk runs in and he's like, Bender, stop! This speed is going to shake the ship apart. So he reverses the repairs and the ship slows back down. Would this thing not know that a highest speed would fuck the ship up?
Yeah, there's some holes. He's the all-knowing. You know, he's also a machine, which he should be able to sense certain things.
Yeah,
and like, why couldn't they, like, whatever he did, like, they could have like kept that so that they could get to warp 10?
Yeah,
again.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
No.
Spock and a couple of expendables arrive at the door. Spock found the cell's force field destroyed and the red shirts missing. And Kirk lays into Bender like, you killed my people. But Bender says the biological units are inefficient. So Kirk decides to throw a wrench into this logic subroutine and says, cool story. I am a biological unit and I created you.
I'm so embarrassed. I wish everybody else was dead.
Kirk tells Bender to follow the expendables back to the brig. Don't harm them. Don't do anything. And Bender's like, but I'm programmed to investigate. And Kirk's like, well, now you're programmed to follow these schmucks back to the prisoner hotel. Got it?
Like I told you, because I'm your daddy or I'm your mom.
Bender says he has much to consider before returning to launch point. He must reevaluate. And Spock's like, yeah, he's going to reevaluate you as a creator, buddy. Maybe you shouldn't have said that out loud.
Yeah, you should have kept your mouth shut.
Yeah. Now the fear is they've given Bender the star charts to find its way back to Earth. And when it arrives, it'll find a whole planet infested with biological units and destroy them.
So Nomad is kind of on a killing spree now, even though Daddy told him to stay put and let the nice men watch him. He's like, fuck this, I'm out. And he goes and kills 2 more guards.
Oh my God, they've killed
Security units.
you bastards!
And he goes to sick bay to snoop around in Kirk's like personal files.
Yeah. In a hallway, Kirk and Spock hear McCoy on the intercom come to sickbay emergency. When they arrive, the sickbay doors don't open, and Spock can't get the manual controls to work either. And then suddenly the doors open and Bender floats out past them and down the hall. Bye.
Laters. Bye.
Inside sickbay, Chapel is down. Severe shock from trying to stop Bender from accessing the captain's medical files.
Why? He didn't wipe her brain?
No, just knocked her down. Good point. Of course, now that he's seen the pages and pages and pages of alien STD treatments that Kirk's had in his life, he's concluded that his creator is imperfect. Scotty calls down from the bridge. Someone's turned off life support from main engineering and blocked the overrides. Bender, of course.
Bender's like, fuck you guys. All of you gonna die.
I really fucking hate when they do this, and they do that in this series often. And we do it in this series often. They interrupt each other all the time, and it happens.
Yep.
It happens naturally. It was you and I talk, but in this episode, it happens in a very scripted way.
Yeah.
As McCoy starts to say something about how much oxygen and heat they'll have left when Kirk cuts him off to order him to get Scotty and some anti-gravs and meet up in engineering. It just annoys me. It makes it hard for me to write my notes when I'm like, this person said this and this person said that. Kirk races into engineering where it looks like everyone is unconscious and tells Bender to stop what he's doing and repair the life support systems. And then they finally get to play out this logic loop. If you're the creator, I'm imperfect, but you're perfect. How could an imperfect being create a perfect one? You must sterilize that which is imperfect. In case of error, everything in error must be sterilized. And Kirk says, right. And I made an error when I created you. Ooh.
And that just throws Nomad for a fucking loop. Wait, does not compute, non sequitur and all that stuff. And then Kirk just goes in and he's like, well, you made this mistake.
Yes.
You thought I was Roy Kirk. That's mistake number one. The two men's names are similar, but I'm not the same. You know, we're not this. That's one error. And then you failed to realize your mistake and didn't execute your directive immediately. Why didn't you just fix that immediately? And he just, then he really got into a loop.
Bender starts freaking the fuck out, and the guys that set up the anti-gravs on either side of Bender and carry him to the transporter room.
Get this motherfucker out.
Kirk gives Bender a last couple of "you're an idiot" and "why don't you make like a tree and leave?" And Bender dematerializes on the platform, and we get a big space explosion.
Bye, Bender.
Come on, universe, you big, mostly empty wuss! Give me all the juice you got!
Oh, mama.
The button on the episode, back on the bridge, Spock compliments Kirk on his dazzling display of logic. And Kirk's like, didn't think I had it in me, did you, Spock? And straight man Spock says, no.
I died laughing. But yeah, I didn't either. Honestly, I never do.
No.
When he pulls something logical out of his mouth,
he's not the logical one. Yeah. McCoy rolls up to chair chat and informs them that Uhura is back up to college level.
Are you
Get the
fucking
fuck
kidding
out of
me?
here.
No way.
And not only that, she'll be back on the job in a week.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You could have left that entire thing out, and he didn't need to drain her brain at all. It could have just read her thoughts and left her whatever, stunned maybe, but you didn't have to do this brain wipe thing at all. And the episode would have still played just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He should have just knocked her out like he did with Nurse Chapel.
Agreed.
I don't understand. Wait, you didn't get to the very last part where McCoy says, yeah, she'll be up to speed in no time back at her station. But then Spock is talking about, we lost Nomad but it was a remarkable instrument. And Kirk is like, I was his mother. He's like, why are you so upset? Because it considered me as its mother. You saw what it did for Scotty. What doctor could have done that? My son, the doctor, kind of gets you right here,
So maybe instead of the humanist themes, we can talk about how much we fucking hate this episode.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'm happy the affair is over.
Me too.
A most annoying, emotional episode.
Yeah, but you know, I learned something today.
When dreams become more important than reality, you give up travel, building, creating.
One jealous god, if all this makes a god.
By sparing your helpless enemy, who surely would have destroyed you, you demonstrated the advanced trait of mercy.
Frankly, I was rather dismayed by your use of the term half-breed. You must admit, it is an unsophisticated expression.
So there's so much about this episode I didn't like.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about it well enough. As we were talking, I did scribble down a couple of things. And we kind of talked about like Changeling and how disconnected that. I guess this goes in part of why I hate the episode, but Changeling and why the hell why was the episode called that? Like,
they could have just said nomad,
Yeah.
It wouldn't have hurt any, like you could have taken that part about the Changeling
completely out
and it would not have affected it at all.
Right. And it just confuses things for later when we do have changelings. Like
this is not a changeling.
The only thing I could think of from a themes perspective was that idea again of the quest for perfection, right? So Nomad this time is the one that's kind of on the quest for perfection. And this is a theme that, often comes up when we talk about the Borg, and we talked about kind of how similar they are in ways, but that, the quest for perfection, but at what cost?
But then who defines perfection?
Right.
And then why is it always like the humans are not perfect? But in a way we are, when you think about how we evolved to be. We are perfect in that sense, but individually, we're not. But
right.
I just think like we're living on a planet in our particular solar system out of all these planets that have nothing else that we can detect as life on it, and we are functioning and breathing and over the millennia on this one planet, and it's like the perfect design in a way. But I guess when you look at it from a machine point of view, no, we're not.
Yeah.
But like it just, I guess it depends
you can
on
get diseases and die, and like that's an imperfection.
Right.
For example. Yeah.
So are we supposed to be compared to machines?
I don't know.
I'm like,
not my favorite episode. Not my favorite.
Not mine either. And I'm trying to find a humanist theme. Like maybe like humans created this machine and it always turns on us. And that theme is like all over the place in all the movies.
That's true.
Like,
yep. Yeah.
That maybe we should be careful, like all this shit that we create, because the machine is just as flawed as we are.
Yeah.
Because we created it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
See, I thought I was going to hate the Greek History 101 more than I was going to hate any other episode ever, but I ended up loving Greek history and hating this one.
Yeah, I did not like this one at all.
Well, let's put this one to death. Did anybody die in this episode?
Finally. We had four UCs, like, or shall we say units? 4 units that it's like nobody even missed them. They were like, no, they didn't even say, oh, too bad. We lost some security guys. No. Nobody. No. They don't give a shit about these guys.
It's dead, Jim.
We are assembled here today to pay final respects to our honored dead.
4 imperfect units in red shirts were sent to guard Nomad, but they got in the computer's way. Too bad. Nomad was simply acting on his programming, elimination, since they were simply units of biological infestation.
Ooh.
Rest in peace.
That was a good one.
4 red shirts that no one gives a shit about. So.
I'm sure that the letter Starfleet sends home to their families is very caring and thoughtful. Yeah.
And their pension pay or hazard pay.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
Thank you, patrons.
Thanks, patrons. There are a lot of great ways to help support the show here. One of the free ways to do that is to leave us a review wherever you listen to Humanist Trek. One of the best ways, though, to support us is to give us some gold press latinum and become a patron of the show. You'll get early access to every episode. There's different merch at various levels. We just sure do appreciate you being able to help us continue on this journey that we are on with our friends on the Starship Enterprise. And we want to thank our founding admirals. So special thank you to Russell, Allie, Peter, and Sarah. Other Sarah that doesn't have an H. Thanks, everybody. You're the best.
Thanks, everyone.
So head on over to patreon.com/humanisttrek. Pledge as little as $3 a month, and it really does go a long way to supporting the production of this show.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
All right, let's bring Becca back in now for the exciting answer to last week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge for the Changeling. What was our question for this episode?
Nichelle Nichols got into a dispute with director Mark Daniels during filming. Ultimately, Gene sided with Nichols and changes were made to the script. What was the dispute about?
And Allie said they were wanting to do like some kind of violence against Uhura's character. And I said they wanted to have her do something out of character, like they wanted to do something bad to her or something. Have her do something bad that put her in a negative light.
I think, and I know I'm not going to get any points for this, but I think that maybe Nichelle Nichols wanted to insert maybe Uhura's Swahili heritage or culture into it. And maybe someone said no, but because we watched the episode, so, she kind of lapsed into Swahili. And I thought, well, maybe that's what it was.
Huh.
Because it's a small thing, but it's impactful for me. But yeah, I noticed it right away.
You would have been right.
Incorrect.
Sort of. You would have been like, okay, so let me tell you the whole story. Uhura's first language was Swahili. Nichols believed that after her mind was erased, Uhura would revert to her first language. However, since Nichols did not speak Swahili, Daniels wanted Uhura to just speak English, but she refused, stating, Nichelle Nichols doesn't speak Swahili, but Uhura does. Gene was brought in to settle this dispute and sided with Nichols.
Wow.
So a linguist specialist was brought in to write the lines and work with her.
I just love Gene Roddenberry more and more as we do these podcasts. Yeah. I just appreciate what he did. I really just...
It makes me think of that thing Rod said during that interview about how he felt like TNG didn't take as many risks as the original, like the original series really took a lot of risks for the time.
Right. For the time. Yeah.
Right.
They didn't seem like risks now, but they were huge back then.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just love it.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that, that all comes back to Gene and, what he wanted to do, and network be damned. All right. Next week, we'll be reviewing season 2, episode 4, Mirror, Mirror. Kirk, Scott, McCoy, and Uhura enter a parallel universe. Now, I do remember some of this episode. I remember, this is the episode that kicked off all of the Mirror Universe story arcs that happened in all of the later series. Yeah. The idea of the Terran Empire and that whole thing started in this episode.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. That's so cool.
All right. Well, I don't
remember it.
That's not enough to help, I'm sure. What's our question for Mirror, Mirror?
Completion of the filming of this episode was delayed and ultimately took a whole month to complete rather than the typical 6 days. What caused the delay?
6 days it only normally takes? Wow. They can't do that now on an episode. Someone got hurt? Someone broke something? I don't know.
Someone broke a mirror. Mirror, mirror. See, I want to say something like Shatner had to grow his mustache thing out. Is whatever.
I bet you.
But
having not
the
seen
makeup crew people. So always in the mirror universe, the clean shaven people, their mirror counterpart has like a goatee.
As if that's evil. As if facial hair is evil.
Yes. Interesting side story. For the longest time, Disney didn't allow any of its employees to have facial hair because it's seen as less trustworthy by the general public.
But they carry that trope through all kinds of movies and shows.
Yeah.
So I'd go with that. I would agree with that. And
but
again,
I
like
say
you
that,
said,
but
they have makeup.
They have this makeup people. Yeah, they could just glue some hair on.
Yeah, and they didn't care really how. Obviously, we've seen they don't care how that looks. So I'll stick with my guess. Someone got hurt somehow, or I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
Well, we've locked in our answers. Then, if you'd like to play along, head to your nearest social media. Send out your answer to us with the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we'll pick out the ones we like. All right, next time on Humanist Trek, Star Trek The Original Series, Season 2, Episode 4, Mirror, Mirror.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.